Praise the Lord, my beautiful blessed souls. Back with another word. We are bruised and not broken. I had to take me a couple days and kind of get it together. As you can see, I'm still trying to get myself together, but don't pay me no mind. Okay, we are at Dueteronomy chapter 17. You shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or a sheep in which it is a blemish, any defect, whatever. For this is an abomination to the Lord your God. Remember, we are also supposed to present our bodies a living sacrifice without blemish. Why? Because this is our reasonable service. This is why Christ was the only acceptable living sacrifice, and he was the one sent specifically for that reason. If there is found among you within any of your towns that the Lord your God is giving you a man or a woman who does what is evil in the sight of the Lord your God and transgressing his covenant, we spoke about transgressions, sin, iniquity, trespass, transgressions before. We know the difference in the three sins of omission or commission, and it is talking about the worshiping of other gods, because that was the first commandment that was given. And so as we could see, that was the transgression he talking about, and has done and has gone and served other gods and worshiped them. This is idolatry. This is why all these other religions is abominations, or the sun or the moon. So now when we talk about the sun and the moon, we see a lot of these other religions that worship all these other things, people, places, and things. Mother Earth, the sun gods, the moon gods, and all these other things. These are abominations. Or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have forbidden. It's divination, tarot cards, the psychics, readings, all that. And it is told to you and to hear of it. Then you shall inquire. So whenever this happens and you know, they see it or they hear of it, you're supposed to look into it, meaning investigate, inquire diligently. And if it is true and certain that such an abomination has been done in Israel, then you shall bring out to your gates that man or woman who has done this evil thing. This is why it says in the Bible, suffereth not a witch or warlock, sorcerer, magician, whatever, to live, diviners. Why? Because of this reason. And it says you shall bring them out, and this evil thing, you shall stone that man or woman to death with stones. This is one of those things that the curse is, or the disobedience is an abomination. It is death. Is the punishment is capital, is by death. Just like homosexuality is another one. You see, they destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. On the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses, the one who is to die shall be put to death. A person shall not be put to death on the evidence of 1 witness. This is why witnesses and lying is so important, because someone can actually be killed, as we see in our justice system, stoned to death, put in jail falsely when you lie, and the consequences is, you know. So the hand of the witness shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of the people. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Now you know they talk about purging, guys talk about killing. You see they had a movie called The Purge, and it was talking about what? Killing. Why? Because this is what they plan on doing. Pay attention. They love to tell us what they're doing in Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever you want to call them. And so, told you, yeah, sorry. I had to kill this nasty fly real quick. But yeah, I hate flies and I had to kill it. But yeah, so that was what that was about. Where am I? So then it says, if any case arises requiring decision between one kind of homicide and another, see, this is jurisdiction, these are the justice system he has set up for them, and other kind of legal right and another legal right and another. Okay, if any case arises requiring decisions between one kind of homicide and or another one kind, oh gosh. What it says, any case within, okay, if any arise requiring decision between one kind of homicide and another one kind of right, another one kind of assault and another, any case within your towns that is too difficult for you, then you shall arise and go to the place that the Lord your God will choose, and you shall come to the Levitical priest and to the judge who is in the office those days, and you shall consult them, and they shall declare to you the decision, and then you shall do according to what. Hold on, because these things are terrible in here and I hate them. The heck away from me. Okay. And you shall do according to what they declare to you from that place that the Lord will choose, and you shall be careful to do according to all that they direct you. So this is in regards the Levitical priest and the judge who was in office these days. You shall consult them, and they will declare to you their decision. So this is regarding like the cases, like this is him setting up the judicial cases as far as how to rule and have the courts, the judges, whatever, the witnesses and all that to come before whatever it is that they're doing, meaning breaking the commandments, which is the rules and regs, and whatever else. And so you shall come to the Levitical priest and to the judge who is in office these days, and you shall consult them, and they shall declare to you the decision. Then you shall do according to what they declare to you from that place, and the Lord will choose, and you shall be careful to do according to all that they direct you. Because remember, God is going to pick these people. He's going to pick the place, and they're going to go from there. So this is like when you violating these stuff, you're directly violating God. And you shall do it according to what they declare you from the place that the Lord will choose, and you shall be careful to do according to all that I direct you, according to the instructions that they give you, and according to the decision which they pronounce to you, you shall do. You shall not turn aside from the verdict that they declare to you, either to the right hand or to the left, meaning on either end. It's supposed to be exactly what was said. The man who acts presumptuously by not obeying the priest who stands to minister there before the Lord your God, or the judge, that man shall die. So you shall purge the evil from Israel, and all the people shall hear and fear, and not presumptuously again. So this is letting them know, if something is to happen and that is the case, that the death is the actual, they got the witnesses, everything is where it's supposed to be, and death is what it is. You should not turn either way. If that's what it is, that's what it is, and you shall do what they told you to do. When you come to the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you possess it and dwell in it, I will set and then say, okay, when you come to the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you possess it and dwell in it, and then say, I will set a king over me like all the other nations. Because see, he knows that they're going to get started with this. Always being like the other nations is what got them in trouble, because they didn't really need no king. Moses and the prophets was fine, because they was doing more than enough even with that. And that around me, you may indeed set a king over you, whom the Lord God will choose. One from among your brothers you shall set as king over you. You may not put a foreigner over you. This is specific. Who is not your brother, only he must not acquire many homes for himself, or cause the people to return to Egypt, meaning practicing the same things, basically, not meaning going back, but practicing and living like the Egyptians, in order to inquire of many horses, since the Lord has said to you, you shall never return that way again, and he shall not acquire many wives to himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall acquire for himself excessive silver and gold. We are going to get into this, because as we can see, God had a certain precedence for how much they can accumulate money-wise, everything-wise, and there's a reason for that. So when we see these people out here with all these homes and all this stuff, and they talk about, because God wanted them to have it, lies from the pit of hell. Because as we see, God has put provision, and he did it for a reason. Now, I know later on down the line, when Christ comes, a lot of things get changed, but these are the original, from the original 5 books, which is the Torah, the first 5. So this is the setup when it first started out. And when he sits to the throne, when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself in a book a copy of this law, meaning approved by the Levitical priest, meaning, and it shall be with him, and he shall read it in all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God by keeping all the words of this law, and these statutes, and doing them in his heart, and may not be lifted above his brothers, that he may not turn from one side from the commandment, or to the right or to the left, meaning don't also turn. It's just the way it is, that he may continue long in his kingdom, and his as well as his children in Israel. So this is what this is about, and this is considered to be a blessing. We are going to get into it, because it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to get into, and it's very important that we get into it and get into it properly, because people like to say whatever it is they want to suit themselves. We already know this. They pick and choose what verses, like the Fruit Loop box, as to what they want to expound on, because they have their certain agendas, and this is why. Because when you start looking into your Bible yourself and reading, you will understand and see that not everything everyone is preaching and teaching is right, is just, and is God, and what God is telling us to do. Everyone has an agenda. So Deuteronomy 17, the charge of this chapter is concerning the purity and perfection of all those animals that were offered in sacrifice. Remember, no blemish. It's a good morning. It's also a mirror of us and how we're supposed to live, presenting our own selves and lives. And Christ did as well. Concerning the punishment of those who worship idols, very specified. Idolatry, he said, you shall worship no other God but me. So that is the first commandment. Shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and everything else. And that means you could not do this if you're doing these things. Concerning appeals from the inferior courts to the great Sanhedrin, they were talking about that as well, meaning if, they needed help with these cases, what they're to do, God already told them, and concerning the choice and duty of a king. So now we are going to get into this and break this down because there's so much to get into. Okay, we are going to go. Remember, the first thing is obeying the laws, meaning, so that means, first of all, they are not supposed to be worshiping other gods. This is any people, place, or thing. People talk about Mother Earth, or they take Mother Earth is the universe or whatever they want to call it. No, it is none of that. We do not worship the universe. We do not worship Mother Earth. We do not worship the sun and the moon and the stars. We do not worship people, places, and things, period. We do not worship creations. I don't care what it is. We do not worship it. As we can see plainly, God says this specifically in his word. Anyone who tells you anything else is a lie. So now he said, no other gods. Do not worship the sun, the moon, the stars, anything, any host of heaven, meaning angels, Mary, none of that. We are not Mary, Mother, Jesus' mother. Yes, we're not supposed to worship her. Okay? Please understand, that's a no-no. So now, they will be what? Stoned to death, right? Okay. So now that we gotten that all out the way, so for everyone who practiced the worship of all of these other things, God has made it plain. He has made it clear. These are curses. These are abominations, and they are punishable by what? The death penalty. Okay? This is how this goes. So we can argue amongst ourselves. Blessings or curses. Choose this day which you would choose. So now here's a clear, spiritual, rich summary of Deuteronomy 17 with special attention to the chapter spiritual lineage. This is going to teach us what this is all about, how to connect to Israel's covenant identity and point forward in biblical history. Summary with spiritual lineage. It lays out 3 major covenant instructions for Israel. 1, pure worship, meaning you worship him in spirit and in truth, meaning your life, everything, right? Meaning you're not going to mix other gods, all of that other stuff. You're not going to worship other gods, any other people, place, or thing, right? Okay. That means living your life like presenting it, but it's not a spot or blemish, as you would a living sacrifice, which he said the sacrifices has to be spotless. That's what we're supposed to do. So 2, faithful and justice, right? So that means when you are performing justice, right? When you are handing out justice, justice is supposed to be righteous. It's supposed to be just and fair. It's supposed to be faithful. It is not supposed to be what we are seeing today, where there's so much injustice and oppression. Why? This is why God specifically did not want to do that. Faithful means fair. It means just. It means according to God's biblical principles, which is not according to man's and the culture, as we could see. Our judicial system is set up, but as you can see, people can lie, people can be bribed, all of these things. These were not set up this way. God did not, when he originally set it up for us to live that way. They have created a system, but it is not our system, meaning it's not God's system. It is the system of Satan, Lucifer, the devil. This is why we see what goes on. We see pedophiles right now, our own president on the Epstein list, right? But we see him as what? President. We see he got in a long time ago, all these other things. So we already know what is going on when it comes to the presidency, when it comes to these people, places, and things. Basically, do whatever it is that they want to do. Why? Because they have the money, power, influence. The kingdoms and systems are set up for them to basically do as they please. The people who, like us, who are, regular, ordinary people, oppression, injustice, we have no say. Why? Because they are up over us, and because they feel like we are X, Y, and Z. This is where this goes. And so they can clearly decide who goes to jail. The things that they do are so atrocious, but they don't go to jail. But you will put innocent people in jail knowingly, and this is what this is all about. Now you got to know this system is from Satan. It is not from God. And I hope they got that little nasty fly, because I've been trying to kill him and he keep coming over here, and I don't know why. I apologize. I'm at work and this place tends to have a lot of those. It just is annoying. But anyway, and they keep trying to get in my way from doing my video. The devil is a lie and I refuse to do it. That will not be my distraction. So anyway, like I was saying, because it has been trying to distract me this whole time. Okay, so they will be stoned to death. So we're talking about the judicial circuit, court cases and everything. Righteous leadership, especially kinship. What does that mean? You cannot lead if you do not obey. You cannot lead if you're not up under God, submitted, and you're living yourself righteous, and you're, also demanding it from others, because this is what we see. We see leaders who lead when and where they want, how they want, and we see this whether it's in households, whether it's in government, whatever. People want people to be oppressed up under them, to do as they say and not as they do. They do what they want, and you're oppressed, you're injustice up under them, whether it's whatever it may be, at your job, it's everywhere. We see these things. God did not set these things up this way, as we can see. Each one fits into the larger spiritual lineage of God shaping Israel into a holy nation, preparing the way for the future Messiah. So we see 1, pure worship, 2, faithful justice, and 3, righteous leadership, especially when it comes to kingship, meaning people who being over, people who are in power, because they will, to whom more is given, more is required. God wants them to be, if you're going to be in a position of power, he is really going to choose, because he knows man's hearts, and that's the thing. And when your heart is wicked and deceitful and Satan, then you will do any old thing. This is how you will run things that is suiting you. And this is why you see, usually, wherever you go, whether it's at the workplace, whether it's in your own personal lives and homes, whether it's with men, whatever, when it's in the judicial circuit, you'll see oppression and injustice. Why? Because people are doing what they want to do. Fairness, justice, righteousness, any of those things have gone out the window. So we see the systems and kingdoms of who? Lucifer, Satan, the devil, all of their networks, all of their webs. This is what they're doing. So now that we know that, now God still sits on the throne, and he's going to use it all, but we're going to get to that too. 1, pure worship. Moses commands Israel not to offer blemished sacrifices and to reject all forms of idolatry. What is that? Worshiping other gods. So you cannot present to God and worship with him and present anything that is not holy, meaning with all these blemishes. This is why when we see people talking about, they're worshiping, you see Donald Trump talking about Christians and all of this, and he's on the Epstein list. So can you please throw that out the window? Throw the whole him, everything, just throw it away. We're not even going to have a conversation about it. Why? How dare you sit here, shouldn't even be in power, and the things you have been doing is such abominations with these children, with the sex trafficking, with this all this other stuff, the sacrificing, the Satanist ritualism, but they're in power. So when they're in power, and all the people that they deal with, you must understand, they all roll together. Even when they look like they don't like each other, they still roll together, because they all are part of the same people. And you'll see them over and over again, whether they like each other or not. In front of us, they don't like each other. But behind doors, they all work together. Please understand this. So it don't matter, Republican and Democrat, they all part of Satan's, all the same people work together. Please don't get it twisted. Now, key points. God is to be worshipped with integrity and purity. Idolatry is treated as a spiritual treason, meaning punishable by death. Worship of other gods. Integrity and purity mean right, just, what God has said, what you following his rules, obeying. This is what that's about. Matters of idolatry must be investigated carefully. Why? Because punishment only after 2 or 3 witnesses. Why? Because this is why witnessing, testifying, all of this testimonies is so pertinent, important, and not to be bribed, and not to be why? Because these things are punishable by death. Why? So when you think about going before, courts and justice, we see the system. We see the one who did it to go away, go home, and the one who didn't will be in jail. You see how right, pay attention. Spiritual lineage. Remember, they mimic their court system after God in the way he created it, but they made it their way. And this is what the mixing all the time, the mixing. This is what Satan does. He mixes things to make it look like it's God, but it's not. So please pay attention to that. Okay, so now spiritual lineage connects back to Abraham's wholehearted obedience, Genesis 2:2, right? It reflects the first commandment, Exodus 20:3. This is what we're going back to: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the oldest covenant contract God has with them. This is why we're reaping the benefits, the one he had with Jesus Christ, the one why we're included. Sets patterns that prophets later emphasize. Remember, so all of his, the first commandments, Exodus 20:3. Okay. God desires pure hearts, not corrupted worship. Meaning, don't be sacrificing, doing all that, and you still worshiping these other gods. Meaning, you still worship money, you still worship fame and fortune and all these other things. No, Isaiah 1:11-17, and Hosea 6:6. So remember, those are the scriptures for that. God desires pure hearts, not corrupted worship. So your heart, mind, and soul, with all your ever being, foreshadows the New Testament theme that believers should offer themselves right as a living sacrifice. That is in Romans 12:1. Establishing justice. Okay, when legal cases are too difficult for local judges, they must be taken to the Levitical priest or the judge appointed by God. This is what they was talking about. Why? Because this is where he's going to step in and help. Key points. God establishes a central authority for hard cases. Exactly. Israel must respect the rulings of these leaders. Why? Because they're coming from God. Disobedience is to the authority is seen as a rebellion against God himself. Exactly. And that's why. So spiritual lineage reflects the role of Moses as the mediator. He is the one standing in between the gap until Christ comes. And this is what this is about, Exodus 18. It continues the lineage of Levitical priesthood, whose job was to teach God's laws. Now, remember, this is what the Levitical priesthood was, but it also was in the judicial and in the kingdom. Because remember, the king is going to be ruling, so he also will rule under those guidelines. This prefigures the New Testament teachings of Christ as the final high priest and righteous judge. This is in Hebrews 7-8. The points to God, points to God's desire for a justice system rooted in divine wisdom and not human corruption. So remember, this is why they're also going to be, sent to God when it comes to difficult cases. Why? So that God is going to sit with them and they're going to come up with whatever it is that his final thing is going to be. It will be just, it will be fair. And that will be that. Guidelines for future king. God anticipates, he already knows Israel's going to eventually ask for a king, waiting on a king like other nations because they're so busy trying to be like other nations. And this is where a lot of their stuff messes them up at, because I'm telling you, trying to be like the world, knowing that man is not just and not right, Moses and the prophets was over them. They should have just kept them, because once they start with this king stuff, it's going to be a hot mess. We are going to look at this and we are going to see this for what it is. But anyway, so now the key points. The king must be chosen by God. He must be an Israelite, right? So they can't just choose who they want. He's chosen by God. He must be an Israelite, not a foreigner. They are forbidden to accumulate many horses, meaning symbol of military power. Many wives, symbols of alliances, political manipulation. Remember that. So that's horses, symbol of growing military power. Wives, many wives. People say, oh no, yes. Many wives, they were refused. No, he said no. Symbol of alliances, political manipulation. Excessive silver and gold, a symbol of greed and the worship of mammon. Hello, somebody. These people sit here and say, no. When you see what it says, the king must not. And the Levitical priests, they only had what God allowed them to have, which was through the other stuff. They didn't even have an inheritance. So you see, you think about these people, these preachers and pastors and apostles and teachers, talking about money. You see where they are lying. Sorry, lie. So now we're going to get into this. He must write a copy of the law for himself and read it all his life, each and every day. Why? The purpose is to stay humble, to obey God, to ensure longevity of his kingdom. Now, when we think about these things and these people, oh, I need a jet, I needed that, listen. To stay humble, to obey God, to ensure longevity of his kingdom. Oh, well, God bless me with this and this. Is that being humble? Did God even tell you to have all this stuff? Like, come on now. You see, there's a certain why, because he knows excess will make your head big. It will allow you to turn on God. It would allow you to mistreat people, allow your heart to turn and think you above people. He said, do not do these things. When you accumulate too much, you have a thing where you don't need God anymore. And this is why. So it makes a lot of sense. Does it not? Exactly. And to ensure longevity of his kingdom. Why? Because these are the reasons why a lot of them, and especially when you look at Solomon with all of them wives. People talk about Solomon had many wives, and it was the destruction of him. If you look further into the books, you'll see Solomon ended up being one of, honey, he went through some things, and he took the people through some things because of it. Spiritual lineage connects back to the blessings promised to Judah. Remember, the scepter will not depart from Judah. Genesis 49:10. What is the scepter? That is the line of Judah. That is where Christ comes from. It sets expectations for kings like who? David. He wants humility. He wants devotion. He wants obedience. First and foremost unto himself. Do not have no other gods. Do not worship them. Whatever he has allowed you to have, you do not worship it. Also, it exposes why King Solomon, like I said, later fails. He breaks all 3 commandments, and it utterly destroyed him, the kingdom, and the people of God. Why? Because he was under their leadership. 1 Kings 10:1. This is why, being a king, you are responsible. Anyone in positions of leadership, you're responsible for the people under you. And it ultimately points towards forward to Jesus, the perfect king, who was chosen by God himself. He was born here, immaculate. Why? Because he couldn't come from the regular line. Chosen by God. He was humble. He was completely faithful to the Father. Exactly. Ruling in the righteousness. Philippians 2, Revelation 19. So now we see that overall spiritual lineage thread. We're going to look at it. Dueteronomy 17 shows a maturing covenant people, meaning holiness in worship. They want to be shaped by God's purity. That's what he wants, holiness. Worship is more than just praising and worshiping yourself at church. It is how you live. It is how you present yourself. It is how you interact with God. It is how you interact with others. Faithfulness and justice shaped by God's righteousness. What is that? Being faithful in justice matters. Having integrity. Being fair, being righteous towards others, yourself, and whatever you have going on. Whether it's your business, whatever. Can't be by culture. Oh, this is just business and business practices. You could just, mistreat. And God didn't, when he set it up, he didn't set it up that way. So this is why. People don't have no morality. They don't have no, what do you call it? Anymore. They just do whatever they want. There's no, especially when it comes to business, they'll rob you, scam you in a minute, take all your money, bankrupt you, and have you with nothing, and be like, oh, it's just business. God did not set things up to be that way, and this is why. Humility and leadership is shaped by God's heart for servant kingship. What does that mean? God's heart. That's why he wanted to choose. He said he would choose them, and then they wouldn't be foreigners. Why? Because foreigners will always revert back to their own ways of doing things and not God's way. So this is why God told them, do not do these things. Okay, so the lineage flows like this. It's Abraham, Moses, the priests, the kings, the prophets, Jesus, and then the church. Why? Because this is the way it was set up. Each stage reflects God forming a people who bear his character and prepare the way for the true eternal king, which was Jesus Christ, and Christ will come back for his church, which is his bride. So Abraham was first. That was the first Abrahamic law, or, the covenant. Then it was Moses. Then it was the priests. Then it was the kings, the prophets, then Jesus, and then the church. So that's how that goes. So now we're going to look, let me see. Pure worship, like I said, purity, rejecting idolatry, meaning rejecting, bowing down, worshiping all of these other gods. Flows from Torah and prophets, right? So that means culture, all of this stuff we see where they want us to do all these other things, forget God, worship money, worship this, worship that. No, we're not doing that. Pure worship is purity. Rejecting idolatry, meaning rejecting the worshiping of any other God. It flows from the Torah and the prophets. It's fulfilled in the whole life worship of Romans 12:1. So this is what that is about. And when we look at it, we see how, this day and age, you really can't tell the difference of who's saved and who's not. That's the problem with that. It's supposed to be holy and separate and no contamination. Faithful justice. This is 17:8-13. Central discernment by priests, meaning judges. They're rooted in Moses, Levi. That's, how they doing it. The Levitical. And it's fulfilled in Christ and our high priest, eventually down the line, which those will be the judges. Hebrews 7:8. Christ is going to be our high priest. He is the high priest. God is going to judge who is, and was going to be, like I said before, the courts of heaven. He's going to be one. as a prosecuting attorney against us, and Christ will be the one who will either stand up for us and protect us or not, if you're part of it. Righteous kingship. This is 17:14 through 20. King chosen by God, meaning he's going to choose them himself because God knows their hearts. Humble under the law, meaning this is through the lines of David, Judah, and David. They warns, they were warned by Solomon's fail, fulfilled in Jesus Christ, the humble king. Philippians 2, Revelation 19. Why? Because Solomon, when we get that far, it's going to be a lot. But anyway, for now, we haven't got that far. I hope this thing ain't bite me because I feel like something bit me. Okay, yeah, these gnats and stuff in here. Bottom thread is just said that stupid mess. What is this stupid thing? I got to kill that little nasty thing because honey, that thing is trying to bite me. Why does little gnat keep running around here on me? I need to kill this thing. It's getting on my nerves. Okay, so now I'm trying to kill it, but anyway. Okay, let me see. Righteous kingship. All right, let me see. Okay, I did that. Okay, God requires sincere, not corrupt worship. No blemishes in the sacrifices, no adultery, wholehearted worship. That's Abraham, that's and you're supposed to offer your body as a living sacrifice. So that's it. And 3 witnesses are for, in regards to the church and, required in the discipline. That's in the church as well. The witness standard in Dueteronomy 17 shapes Israel courts, and shows up repeatedly in scripture. Guard against injustice, right? Rumor. That's why you're supposed to have more than one witness, even in the court of law, because that is the way that God has it set up. And there's reason for that. But at the same token, you see a lot of that is corrupt as well. The witness standard is shaped in Israel courts and shows up repeatedly in scripture as guard against injustice. Guard against injustice. This is why this is set up. Not for you to have injustice, but we see that that's not the case. Deuteronomy 19:15, Matthew 18:16. Faithful justice. Deuteronomy 17 focuses on hard cases. Go to the Levitical priests and judge, meaning obey the ruling by God. Moses as mediator, distributed judging. Levi's charges to teach the Torah and to discern. Christ was a high priest and righteous judge, and he's the one that's going to be we're going to seek wisdom from him and from his word. Refusing the priestly judicial ruling is framed as rebellion against the Lord your God, underscoring that justice is covenantal, not merely civic. And that's why we see a lot of things going on here. Righteous kingship, Deuteronomy 17:14-20. It focuses on the king must be chosen by God, and Israelite must not multiply horses and wives, meaning armies and, lustful things. Earlier lineage. Royal hope seated in Judah's scepter. That's in Genesis 49:10. Kings are to shepherd under the Torah. David models humble dependence. Solomon violates all 3. That's what put him in, issues. And the fulfillment was Jesus, because he's the only one who could, the perfect humble king. Philippians 2:5, reigning in righteousness. Revelation 19, Luke 19:16, Luke 1:32-33. Now, each one of them is supposed to have the king a personal copy of the Torah, meaning the rules. This centers the king's heart on God when he's leading by scripture and not just by charisma or empire building. This is where people they charismatic. They doing more than just preaching the word. They want to ad lib so they can get them in this and off, and they want to benefit. And God says, don't add, don't take away. You present it the way it's supposed to be, and don't let it be for you to be benefiting off of it. This is not what that's about. So now we see all of this going on now, and even to this day. So devotional reflecting people shaped by the king and his law. Deuteronomy 17 reflect 3 movements: pure worship, give God your best. Questions: where am I tempted to offer blemished worship, leftover time, distracted attention, compromised loyalties? 2, practice this week. Set aside a focus hour for undistracted worship, scripture, prayer, and single act of generosity. This is what this is all about. And when we look at it, because our lives are so filled with a lot of distractions, whether social media or the things, our work, ambition, whatever it is we're trying to do. So yeah, favorable justice seeks God's wisdom. Question: when conflict grows complex, do I escalate to wise, godly counsel, or to gossip and self-justification? Practice identity. One spiritually mature person you will consult before making your next hard decision. Yeah, and sometimes that's not. It can be a lot with this too, because when we are upset with things that's going on, it can be a lot with this. So faithful justice, pure worship, righteous leadership, lead under the word. Question: what horses, wives, silver, meaning power, relational, manipulation, money, threaten to shape my choices. So when we think about these things, that it says a lot. And it says questions, practice, start, personal copying habit, handwrite or type a short portion of scripture daily for a week. Pray into your leadership at home, work, or church. Why? Because when you're leading, this is what it is. It could be you at work, it could be you in your home as a parent, it could be whatever. Whatever it is, leadership positions, it is a lot, because the pressure is a lot. Lord, make my worship pure, my judgment patient and wise, my leadership humble and under your word. Write your law upon my heart and conform me to Jesus, the true King. Amen. Now that's a nice, wonderful, but I do want to get into more when it comes to this faithful justice, because like I said, when conflicts grow complex, do I escalate to wise, godly counsel? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Or to gossip and self-justification, sometimes we do. When it comes to our time, yeah, sometimes I had to set aside, sometimes I had some stuff I had to deal with. And it gets to be, God's not asking now, we're supposed to be perfect, I'm not going to say it, but we know that we're not. We know that we have to come up under the blood in order to do that. Why? Because Christ is the only one that is perfect. Now, when it comes to our righteous, moral stuff here, when it comes to our actual, where's our hearts at when it comes to people, places, and things, and how we're dealing with stuff, like seriously. Because a lot of times we can see and know this stuff is just ain't right, and we just go along with it. Like right now, we see what is going on in the world, and no one's blinking and batting an eyelid, and it's like, why are these things just being allowed? Incorruptible situations, along with, people's motives in their hearts when it comes to certain things, just not caring and just seeing but blindly acting like we don't see, and that's crazy. To be really having outcries of what's going on and demanding real justice for real situations, instead of us, we're on here thinking about Cardi B, all these other people, instead of thinking about what is really going on in the world, which is, as we can see, they have an agenda. This is a satanic system, satanic agenda. So what are we going to do? What are we going to stand on it when it comes to abortion, when it comes to this homosexuality stuff, when it comes to all of these things that God says is abominations? Are we just going to go along with it because culture says it's cute and it's good to do, because we like their music, because we like, oh, this one didn't do this, that one didn't do that, because we're going to let them have a pass because they are famous, they have money, because they, driving around in cars, doing things we like and want? Are we making idols of them, so we're giving them passes to do atrocities instead of standing up? Because, when it talks about witnesses, to tell the truth of what's going on. But then most of the times, as we see in this world, the victims are normally the ones that go through the most, hell, because they're the ones that have to be up under scrutiny all the time. And the ones that are actually perpetrating and doing, where's the moral, where's the justice, where the righteous justice, just vindication and judgments on behalf of the righteous people here, and then when we're barking up all these trees of all of these minute things that really don't mean a whole lot, but then the issues and things of life that we really need to be fighting for, we're not. We see people, plenty have went to the electric chair and were actually innocent. They were petitioning, asking for help. Someone lied. They went in and testified, got paid, whether it was, the judges, the lawyers, to plant evidence on someone who was innocent and to watch them fry and go while the real killer walked, or there was someone they knew and didn't want to put him in jail and all this. And the lives is just like, oh, it's only valued, if the life is rich or if it's famous or pretty popular. Other than that, the souls don't mean anything. What is that about? God does not say that, as we can see here. And then I'm outraged with the church and with a lot of people because they're so busy preaching about money and all these other things. They don't really care about the real issues. And most of them are just as bad because they're bought into it, to the satanic witches and warlocks that's in the church. We're not even going to talk about that. Most of them are funded, and they're funded not to speak out, not to say nothing, and not to do anything. Why? And this is why we have gotten, what we have gotten as far as them helping communities, standing in the gap and helping. Why? Because they're not there to help. They're there to continue to push the agenda that's already there. They're there to continue on to have us distracted and ignoring the real issues, the real godly principles, the real godly things that we're supposed to be fighting for. Instead of just sitting here and just idly going by talking about you get a blessing, everybody gets some money, instead of doing, let's really talk about what's going on. These people being shot down in the street, drugs being sold, children being trafficked. We see politicians that we're working with in the community that everybody talked about Kamala as if she was going to be any different from Donald Trump. They are all a part of the same people. When you look up all of their stuff, Obama, they talk about Obama is a part of them too. When you think everyone, and as black people, please, I must tell you, please stop making these idols out of these people, places, and things. Jay-Z, Beyonce, as if these people cannot be Satan worshipers. When you plainly see them talking about all the things that they have done, the Red Shoe Club, the Frazzlegate, the Pizzagate scandals, all of these things that have been around for so long. And when I talk about the Willie Lynch letter, I want to get into that one day, and we talk about how these things have been going on. They ate Nat Turner. Of course, if they've been eating slaves and killing slaves, these are the Egyptian practices. This is what they were doing, sacrificing the children to Moloch, sexually assaulting them, raping them. When you think about slavery, that went on. Why? Because that was a part of that. They got addictions. They got us hooked on their pharmaceuticals and drugs. They want to not allow us to grow food. They want to inject stuff in the food. It's all about killing us off. And when we look at these things, honestly, COVID-19, any virus, if you look it up, is man-made. I'm sorry to tell you, man-made. All viruses are man-made. So COVID-19 with all other ones are made by humans in labs. Please look it up in your PDR. Physicians that's references, I think. And when it comes to them giving you the drugs as far as for all of these, because I know my sons, they had a lot of issues with their mental health as well. They had some lead poisoning, and they wanted them to be on like the Ritalins and stuff and all of those type of psychiatric drugs. It's just, and when you look at the psychiatric stuff and the stuff that street drugs, and then stuff that they give you in the hospitals and stuff, it's a little shift of a difference, but most of it is basically the same. But when you think about pushing demons and demonic forces and addictions and all these type of things, this is what this is about. The pharmakeia, pharmaceuticals, is magicians, spell, sorcery, because they're mixing and doing things that are, not godly. Now, did God give us herbs to help us with it? Yes, but he did not tell us to go and get the herbs and mix it in with these demon and demonic forces to do that. That's not what that was about. So then when you think about the rituals and all of that, no, that was not a part of that. So now, this is the problem. They think, oh, it's nothing. No, they talk about the mental health. Like I said, when it comes to psychiatric care and stuff like that, when you look at most of the people, there's only but so far that they can do for them unless they're going to give them some type of a drug that's going to heavily sedate them. So when we think about mental health as a whole and we think about these things, technically speaking, those are demons. And when you talk about people being, oh, well, such and such told me, I heard the voices in my head tell me to go kill this person, that was a demon. So putting them on drugs and all these other things, there's better ways. But see, God had the casting out, the deliverance ministries. See, if we're more focused on those type of things instead of making money okay, and then paying for a deliverance, a healing all of the time, any type of structures when it comes to healing and deliverance and stuff that is godly, that we folks want to always have a charge and get paid for, which I don't remember Jesus charging anybody for any miracles and deliverances. I remember him telling us that he died for us and we must live our lives in the course of to take up our cross and follow him. And that's how we pay that. But I see, like I said, most folks charge for everything. And if the people who do or do not have the money, it's up for sale. Christ flipped over, the tables and stuff for that reason, because they made it a house of what? A den of thieves instead of a house of prayer. And why? Is because they were charging. Even when it came to the sacrifices, they didn't mind people sinning because they was getting paid off the sack of selling them the stuff so they could go sacrificing and stuff. They was making money left and right. The money changes. And this is why, Christ was so angry and upset. And then it wasn't about real true worship. It was about them not really caring. And so this is why we got this whole nother stuff going on. But like I said, when we look back at what is going on now, and right before the flood and all of that, when God had destroyed, and then we look at Sodom and Gomorrah, when we look at all of these times, it was for the same thing. And this is why he kept wiping them out, to destroy their bloodlines, to delete them, to get rid of them, to purge it. Why? So they would stop going back. Because any seed that you sow, as long as it goes in the ground, and it's gonna come up. So it's going to take a lot for it to come up, but usually we look and we see, because like I said before, a lot of the weeds grow faster than the good ground. And so when we look at that, there's reasons behind that as well. But because when the ground was cursed among us, so there's a lot with that too. But now that Christ has come and we are under, the grace and mercy, we have to exercise our rights, our power and dominion that we were given back over these things. This is what this is about: the prayer, the fasting, the praying against all of this stuff, in order for us, spiritually cleansing the earth, all of the things here. Because think about it, they're putting, they're killing off the ground so it doesn't produce fruit. They don't want seeds. Why would they be so invested in these type of things? They want to kill off people, of course. And in doing so, especially a specific type of people, the people that is godly people. Why? The real chosen, real godly people. Because Satan knows who they are. And when you look and you search, they've always been searching through the bloodlines. And they've all been knowing who's God's and who's not. Yeah, this stupid thing's still flying around. And so they want to eliminate them. And when you look at what's going on in the world, the reptilians, the dragons, the different demonic splices that they were doing even to this day, creating all these half-breeds and wanting to extinct man to create their own, nation of animals, or half human, half being animal beings. That's what this is about. And so this is why they were having sex with the daughters and doing all this weird stuff, and they're still doing it today. This is why they're so crazy about DNA and all of these other things. And taking everything from us real life humans and eating it, and organ donations, because they're trying to create their own race. And remember, the only ones who will want this type of race is those who are demons, demonic. Why? Because they don't have a body. God took their body away from them when he destroyed it. So now they need bodies in order to do anything. And this is why they get into us, so that they can do what they want to do, because they have to have legal authority to do anything. Why? They have to get into you in order for you to be used as a vessel to kill, steal, and destroy. Why? Without a body, you have no legal right, you have no nothing, no dominion, no power here. You have to have a body. And this is why they already know that they're going to hell, because they're disembodied spirits. They're going straight to hell. There's no soul saving for them. So now they just want to take as many of us with them to hell. So when we look at what all is going on, I'm trying to stop the food, plaguing us, destroying everything, taking our finances, living an oppressed life, injustice life, especially when it comes to enslavement, entrapment, sexual deviancies. They want to make all of these things legal. When you look up the pedophilia thing, they're trying to do that. This is why they want to change, how old you could be when you get married. who's considered an adult, who's not. They want these children to be scarred and confused, thinking that what's wrong is right, what's right is wrong. It's fine to have two mommies and two daddies. You can't have two mommies and two daddies. Not theoretically, no, because somewhere or another you have to lie and tell the child that, because there's no way you can have a baby with a woman and a woman, or a man and a man. So somehow you had to get a man and a woman together, or they're doing the test tube babies, which they love doing, which is where the surrogates and all of that, where they're taking the semen and the sperm and they're putting it in a petri dish, like do everything. Farmers, what is it? Sorcery. Magic, sorcery, things that they're not playing God, wanting to be God, wanting to live long, never die. Why? Because they don't want judgment. They want to hide from God, thinking they're not going to get judged. God can see you. He can know where you are. You can hide. You can go wherever you want to go. And the tunnels that they claim are not there. The $3 trillion that was spent, the bill for us to connect every part of the world. They think it's just America. No. These spiritualists, spiritual people who are allowing these things, conjuring up these things, and they're requiring blood. And every time we go to war, it's sacrifices. Why? It's justified because it's put forth as, oh, well, we need to go to war, and that's what they're going to kill off all these people, and it's going to be sacrificed, to their people, to their demons, and empower and enrich them. This is what this is about. So we wonder why we work like an elephant and we reap like an ant. This is all how you stay empowered. And I believe that they made some type of a pact with the devil for 400 years to keep folks enslaved both times so that they can sacrifice the slaves. Meaning, kill them, do whatever they lynch them. The more heinous, the more grievous, the more nasty, the more disgusting, okay? The more power that they're getting. This is why they do these egregious things. It's hold on one second. Hello? Can I help you? Did you speak to them already?
No.
Did you speak to them already? Yeah, let me see. Give me 1 second. Yeah, because normally you come down before. Do you happen to have their number? Do you have an idea of them?
No.
Okay, well, you have to call them. I could let you up, but you have to have an idea. If you don't, I can't. Yeah. Yeah, nobody answered. I mean, but it's like, what, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning? So that might be why. If it was a little earlier, probably be a little bit better, but I can't go get them. I could just call them. And either that, they'll have to come down. So, all right. All right. Yeah, so this is what this is about, and we need to be paying attention. God did not create a world that was supposed to be days ago, haphazardly. He created a world that we would actually have rules and regulations. And if we think about what goes on in this world and how he has everything set up, it makes a lot of sense as to what we're going through and why we're going through it, the blessings and curses. And this is where we are with the blessings and curses. And because we do not live the way we should, we are not obedient. And because we do what we want to do, just how we want, we follow culture, we follow people, places, and things. We worship them, we idolize and adore them. This is what happens. And it becomes a thing to where we're here living in a world to where there's so much injustice, oppression, and all of these other things that are not healthy for us, for our children, for anything. And when we look at it, we wonder why there's so much poverty. There's so much sickness and disease. There's so much all of these things, and it's from these curses. When you look at them talking about what they're doing with the children now, they're sexually assaulting, the abominations of the sadism and all of that nasty, disgusting stuff, and how they're killing these children and they're raping them and doing all these terrible things, and no one really cares. And it's been going on for so long, and they're eating them and eating people and all this other stuff. And this is where those gods come in, because they require those blood, they require those type of sacrifices, they require them to go in feces and drink, eat feces, urine, all this type, sleep with dead people, all of these nasty abominations. Why? Because the nastier and the grittier and the more disgusting and defiled, that's where the unclean and clean thing come in at. But God tells you to separate yourself from the unclean and become clean and holy and not contaminate, and that is why. So when we look at these things, we can start to understand exactly what is going on, how our leaders are, basically in bed with the evil, wicked ones, and they're doing the same thing. They're with them.
You could do one more, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
somebody finish, right?
Not yet. It's just 5.
So what time do you want me to come back? 6?
Yeah. So this is really...
Call the metro dial, alright?
Okay, what time?
I think it's 6.
Okay, I got you.
You have to call at 5:30.
5:30? Okay. All right. You got your radio, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is what this is about. And when we look at everything, and we look at the Bible and all of these prophecies are being fulfilled, and we see how man and Satan, because Satan uses man. Don't get it twisted. He uses man for everything. And he has to corrupt us here, because they have to have some type of legal right, meaning our power and authority as human beings to be here and live in our bodies and use us as their portals, as their mediums to be here and rule and to do these things that they're doing. So when we look at the Epstein files and we see, they so-called killed him off and all these other things, and it was nothing for them to kill him off if they did, because he was just another pawn in the situation anyway. But then we look at Nicki Minaj and we look at, Donald Trump and all these other ones, and what they're doing and we're saying to ourselves, well, if they did all of that, it's another funky fly just killed. Oh, I hate these things in here. They're so disgusting. Oh, they're so nasty. I get them better with this switchcraft, but anyway. All right, I got it. And so yeah, but I'm gonna let this one go. We gotta think about all of what be going on in here. And when I say that, I'm talking about in this world, because we have to pay attention to what is going on and know that the prophecies are being fulfilled. And the things that they're doing, we need to be questioning everything, what's going on and why, and looking into it and asking God, turning back to God and asking him for, the wisdom of how to live and be here with all of these things going on, because it's not easy to live here and be here, to see our children go to jail. Certain people, go to jail, and if you can't pay, or if you're not this color, and all the injustices and oppressions and different things. And then for us ourselves to be against each other and to allow it, because they haven't divided us so. And once I say this all the time, by either age or color or race or creed or education or financial situations, this is how they get us to turn on each other when their agenda is still the same. If we're not one of them and a part of their bloodline and their families, we're all going to be, because when you think about it, and especially when it comes to black people, people love to say, if it wasn't for black people, but black people have no power really here. And when I say that, I'm talking about in the world. It's not to say it like that, because they are the chosen people, especially African American ones, which are not African Americans, but we are the indigenous ones that were sent here. We are the chosen ones, because we're the ones that were enslaved twice for 400 years, and those are who God's people are. And when Christ come back, it's all about him righting the wrong of his people, meaning getting their land, their territories, all the things back that rightfully belong to his people. Why? Because God created the world, which is the I am, but his son he sent to save us. So at the end of the day, they're coming back to collect their children, their kingdom. They're going to make them pay back restitution for the souls from Adam and Eve until now. All of the souls that were injustice and oppressed and killed and slaughtered innocently, yes, they have to pay back for those. Why? Because Christ came to redeem them, and so they can't take it without paying for what they have done. And that's for the land they have stolen, all the lies they have told. Remember, The Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So he came to steal, kill, and destroy everything here, the earth and everything that God created. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, meaning everything from the animal life to the earth to the plants to all the vegetation to everything that they have, really destroyed. But it is our participation with them that is the problem, because God is teaching us as his children not to be with the enemy. And that's just like telling your children not to go out there and form allegiances with people who hate you and do not like you and rightfully despise you and do not want no parts and want to destroy you. And see, we have fallen in love with these customs, the culture, and all these things that they have given us because Satan has lured them and made it look good. And they have gone along with it. And we have just been, pawns. We have been asleep. And it says we will be asleep. And then God would awaken us, And so it's time for us to start being awakened. I've been praying that God would awaken us all so that we would start seeing things for who and what they truthfully are. So we can stop sitting back debating on who's who and what's what. All of these other religions, these secret societies, all of these things are there, and they're there for a reason. And they're not to help us. Okay? The things that they do, the knowledge that they have that's really forbidden. Or if you want to know things, you need to go about it the right way instead of going about it that way. And when God wants to let you know things, he will in his time. This is why he sends prophets and stuff alike, which that is a whole nother situation in itself, because a lot of them are here and they're all for the prophet line and all of his making money and getting rich too, because they're part of Satan's clique. And he sends most of them out to look just like us. They're, wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be sent from God when they only sent from Satan to keep you distracted, to continue, us in this bondage and being asleep, and to not know who we are, whose we are, and the power, dominion, and authority we have to operate in. Why? Because if we really knew, we would be fighting against them in the spiritual realm, against all of these things that we see. Because remember, we got to be tied to Christ to receive that. Why? We have the power, dominion, but the authority, power, dominion, the actual power is not given unless it's through him. So we're not going to see it on our own, and we have to be aligned with him. He's the tree, and we're the branches. He's the root. He's the foundation. We have to be connected to him, and without being connected to him, we will die. That's why when you see a branch fall off, it dies. It withers and dies because it's no longer collected to the sustenance. What's in the tree itself is what's giving it life. And we see they talk about the tree of life and trees and gardens. Why? Because everything is a seed, everything is a planted root, everything is something, and it has meaning. And so we want to know these things, we want to accept these things, we want to stop being blind to these things and stop being led by these evil, wicked ones and these ones who are just blinding us and telling us to do. And because it's them, the blind leading the blind, but more than anything, it's leading them away from God himself. And see, they're going to be held accountable because God is not stupid, nor is he slow. He knows who's really for him and who's not in these pulpits and all. He knows who's just out here making money. And trust me, and for every soul and every people they preach and teach to, from past, present, and future, that have gone on and they have lied and their souls either went to hell, they've been cursed, or whatever their family bloodlines, please understand that leadership positions, or if you're in position, honey, God, even if you're not, if you're preaching and practicing and telling people the wrong thing, God is going to hold you accountable. The blood from these souls is on your hands. And that's why when Christ went to the ritual, they washed their hands and said his blood was not. Why? Because he was innocent. And they unjustly sent him, to be crucified. And it's not that he didn't give up his life because he knew it was going to happen, but it's just the point. Being betrayed by your own is the worst. Having your own children go against you and sacrifice you and send you and go and be on the side of those who hate you. That's the worst thing you can ever possibly in your life endure and go through. And trust me, because when you see families break up and husbands and wives and children and all of that go through a lot of these things, that's exactly what happens. The ones you love and were so close to become your straight enemy. And it's sad, and it happens each and every day. And God allows us to see firsthand the hurt, the heartache, and pain of these things, being betrayed by your own. It's a heartache and heartbreak that's like no other in this world. It's like some things you just never, ever quite get over. You just learn how to deal with it. So we are bruised and not broken. I just wanted to come with you with this word. I hope that this word was a blessing to you. I have one more that I'm going to try to get out, and that'll be that. It'll be 18, which I'll be back up and running. Then I'll be where I'm supposed to be as far as what I'm supposed to be doing. I think I was one behind, but anyway. Be blessed, my beautiful blessed souls. We are bruised and not broken. I am here. I'm going through the word. I've been going through it since Genesis. We're in Dueteronomy. Started out with my testimony. Right now, I'm thankful to God. I have over 400 videos here. I don't ask for much. If you want to donate to the channel, you can. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. If anything, I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing this to point people in God's direction, in Jesus' direction, so that they can get the help that they need in their lives and the answers that they're looking for in their lives, in their own, lives, in their lineage, their bloodlines, because this was a journey, that God has started me on, and I was questioning about a lot of things in my own life and trying to find answers. Through doing so, He has allowed me to search, and whatever I'm finding and whatever I'm understanding, I am also sharing with you guys, so that it will be a help and a blessing to you. I'm not telling you to follow me. I'm telling you to follow Him. I can't save you. I don't do saving. Jesus does that, honey. Okay, so but you can like my videos. You can share them and subscribe to the channel. That would be a blessing. I wanted to get out to as many people who are either saved, who's starting out, who are in between. They're not really sure. To be a blessing and a help to them in their walk with the Lord, but more than anything, to call them to have a relationship and walk with the Lord, and to turn away from whatever else it is that they are serving and doing, so that their lives may be better here on earth and even after they leave here. So the pros are not broken. Be blessed. You beautiful blessed souls. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, and if you like, you can donate. But God is my provider. And it's not just about me, it's about other people. That's what it's about. Okay. Love you guys. Be blessed. Later.